everybody, it's Deb again. Glad for you to come and join me today, and I want to get started again working on functional movement, releasing tension and tightness, increasing range of motion, and increasing your fluidity of movement. Whatever goal you have in terms of what you want to get back, whether it's stairs or riding a bicycle or whatever, let's work on that. You have to chip away at it, know what muscles are involved. This is where I come in, and let's get her done, okay? Always, every day, I want you to do something with your feet, whether that's foot circles, whether that's foot sliding, whether that's anterior tib, just really working on getting those muscles involved that pull your feet back, but something every single day on your feet. Also, for those of you who have any edema, any swelling whatsoever in the feet, ankles, or lower legs, it'll move that. Remember that lymphatic system is directly under the skin, and it is responsible for clearing out a lot of the toxicity. When it gets to your feet, if your feet aren't moving, it stays there. That's why just doing things like this, like pumping that foot, will start to move that up. Or realize also, we're working against gravity here. The more you sit, the more that's going to pull. All right? Again, barefoot or in socks, because those shoes are only going to restrict you. And a lot of you have soles on your shoes that are really thick. That's just going to restrict you. So take those off. All right, so what we're going to do this time is we're going to start with foot circles. Now, some people want to do it like this. I recommend that you do it with a straight leg, and here's why. Because a lot of you don't track from the foot to the hip. Things go all kind of different directions. If you do it with a straight leg, number one, already, I'm telling you, the vast majority of you, this is already going to pull on the top of your foot. So what I want you to do is to dorsiflex, and my toes are open. We've talked about that before, all right? I'm sitting upright. I'm not leaning back. I'm not putting my hips in posterior tilt. I'm sitting upright as best you can. We're going to work on the endurance in that as well. And I'm going to circle. Nice and slow. This is not a foot circle. All the muscles that work that foot are in the lower leg. This is going to help the supinators, in other words, that roll out and wear out the sides of your shoes, and the pronators, the ones that look like your ankles are collapsing inward. We're going to do foot circles, and I always say the size of a nice cantaloupe, not a kiwi. Nice big circle. And I go around, and I'm going to say no less than 25 times. Now, here's the thing. If those muscles in the lower leg starts to burn, and they very well may, especially if they're weak, start with 8 or 10 and do that 3 times. And you're going to circle. Again, nice and slow. Do not get in a hurry. You're going to sell yourself short. If you understood how many muscles are in the feet and the lower legs, you wouldn't get in such a big hurry. But you'll start to feel all those muscles in the lower leg as well, especially here is where for a lot of people it starts to burn. And in some of these positions, like here, that plantar or that dorsiflexion, you may feel a pull on the backside. That's perfectly fine. You want to go in both directions. Again, my toes are open. If you notice, in a foot circle, I pass through the plantar flexion. I'm getting the lateral part. I'm going now in dorsiflexion. And then I come around to the internal. And I go both directions. You want to initiate, because it's different muscles that initiate different directions. And again, you're going to sit up. The reason I want your legs straight is because in gait, this should stay, upper and lower should stay in the same path or in the same track. You should be able to independently work at the ankle, at the knee, at the hip, at the waist, at the shoulder, at the neck, without other parts getting involved. In other words, when I turn my head, I shouldn't have to turn my torso. If I turn my torso, my hips shouldn't have to go with it. Same thing here. I don't want you to be doing foot circles like this. No, I want that lower leg still, and I want you to isolate. So what should be moving visibly is from the ankle to the foot. Again, both directions, no less than 25 times each way. All right? So that works on tracking, foot ankle mobility, getting those feet moving any fluid, any edema for anybody that's got that, and just really getting those toes open and activating all those things in the feet. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to, again, work lateral hip, really important, as well as medial. Your body's supposed to be in balance, front to back, right to left, and inside to outside, medial to lateral. I'm going to use a yoga block. Now, a strap. If you don't want to invest in a yoga strap, use an old necktie, use an old belt, whatever. Just make sure you do it. This is simple but profound. You're getting the muscles inside outside to work together. What happens if there's rotation, one hip is higher than the other, you've got all kinds of things going on, what you're doing is getting the muscles on the inside, the muscles on the outside to work together. If they contract together, nothing moves. That's your stability. That's that isometric contraction. If your legs want to do this, you're going to put the block here and the strap at your ankles. If your knees want to collapse in, you're going to put the block at the feet and you're going to put the strap right above the knees or your necktie or whatever you decide to use. So I'm going to put this above my knees, all right? And normally, I'll be honest with you, it's more men that have this issue than women, but not everybody. So now, when you decide to, if you got one that's got a buckle and it wants to slide, put it in the middle. Again, so you're not pushing, because sometimes that gets uncomfortable, and just turn it over. And when you turn it over, that should keep that from sliding. And I turned this back because someone didn't lace this the way that it should be. All right, let me tighten this up just a hair. Again, it depends on how you lace up that buckle. You just don't want it to slide. And don't use a stretchy band. You don't want it to move. You want it to be isolated so that there's an isometric contraction. All right, I'm going to sit up nice and straight, as always. Head up, shoulders back. I'm going to squeeze the block and pull out on the strap. Technically, I want to do it at the same time. And then I release. Now, here's what some of you are going to get when you release. In other words, there's going to be a jerk. That's because you've got one side that's dominant. For instance, if your hips want to rotate this way and you let go, that's probably the direction it's going to go. What you want to do is hang on to the right side if it goes left, a little longer, a little more contraction so that this doesn't move as much. You're going to squeeze and release and push against the strap. And then you're going to release. The more of that you do, the less of that wiggle you should get. That wiggle is your instability. So this one is for hip stability, low back stability, because you've also got underneath those glutes, those muscles that are responsible for stabilizing the sacrum and the low back. That's what you're going to feel back there. And again, if you've got one side that's more dominant, you may feel it on the opposite side a little more. Your goal is that you pull and squeeze and hold and release and nothing moves. And pull and squeeze. And again, this one may fatigue. Most of you have a lot of instability. This will probably fatigue really quickly. That's okay. So my suggestion is to do this. If it really fatigues very quickly, then what I want you to do is stop, just hold this, do some anterior, posterior tilts. Again, now I'm changing directions. This has to work with these. And so I'm doing paraspinals, low abdominals, and I'm doing this. I'm giving these muscles a little break, just holding that position. And then after I do several of those, give myself a break, take as long as you need to, do back shoulder rolls, whatever you need to do. I'm going to go back to that. You cannot do too many of these. People always say, how many should I do? That depends on you. That depends on where your dysfunctional patterns are, your tight spots, your weak spots, etc. So I'm going to sit up nice and straight. I'm going to pull and squeeze. Again, this is hip, low back, stability, and release. Pay attention. Do you feel like one side wants to tighten before the other, one side wants to release before another? Do it until everything is bilateral. In other words, equal time on the tension and timing, equal time on the release. Squeeze Pull out on the strap, and if you need to break it down, especially in the beginning, do so. Ideally, we want them to work at the same time. And then release. And I'm going to do this 4 more times. Pull and squeeze. I'm sitting up nice and straight. Holding that several seconds, and then release. And I'm going to do 2 more. Sitting up, head is up, pull, squeeze. My feet are flat to the floor, with the exception of the arch. Equal weight distribution. And release. And then I'm going to do 1 more. And I'm going to pull out on that strap. And I'm going to squeeze that block. And we're going to release. Now, realize you feel like you're squeezing at the feet, you are, but realize there's things happening all the way up to that pelvic floor that are literally squeezing those together, all right? So after we get done with that, we're gonna move to upper body, all right? And we're gonna do a little bit, I'm just gonna put this here for placement, all right? So I'm gonna sit up nice and straight. All right, my feet are forward, all right? My arms are out and my palms are open. That by itself is going to be a challenge for you because most of you are here because you're so weak on the posterior side. A lot of you are going to be here. In other words, your arms don't even want to straighten. When you stand up and you are here, your hands should not be on the front of your thighs. Your hands should be, thumbs are facing forward, arms should be hanging straight down. That's an issue. That we can fix that. That's something we can fix. Realize when the head goes forward, everything starts to collapse with it. We're going to change that. So we're going to straighten all that out. That's also why a lot of you have an issue with opening a jar. Your grip is gone because that chain is no longer working as a unit. This will help. All right? So as best you can, we want to go palms up. Notice what happens at my shoulders. Paraspinal's engaged, rhomboid's engaged, pull the shoulders together, the chest opens. That's where I want to be. This by itself for a lot of you is an exercise all by itself. Open those fingers. Let those things, and again, there are layers in the forearm, layers in that upper arm. Let those things unwind. A lot of you are going to feel a pull right through here. Again, when this is forward, this all twists. All we're doing is the untwisting. You're going to hold that. Again, endurance, strength. This is all you're working on. Sitting up nice and straight. If this starts to get easy, standing up for extended periods of time gets much, much easier and may not even be a problem anymore. And give yourself a timer, sing a song, whatever you need to do, and then relax. Bring those arms down. However, try to avoid this, okay? Because that's where a lot of you will want to go. All right, we're just going to lift those arms. Pay attention to what my hips do. I want those paraspinals to work as a unit. So as I raise my arms, I also get my anterior tilt or my lumbar extension. Palms are up, fingers are open, and I'm holding. That's all I'm doing. It's amazing how much you can accomplish by holding a position. Again, one of the biggest problems is people stop too soon. They don't wait long enough. This is a big, big thing to be able to have those arms straight. Again, it's going to help being able to open a jar, giving you strength in those hands. Because if you're already here, they're already contracted, so you don't have a whole lot to work with. If these are open, you got a lot to work with in terms of strength and range of motion. Shoulders are back. Some of you may feel this here. That's perfectly fine. And you're going to hold that. A lot of you are going to feel that in the bicep. Again, that's because this turns in. You got a muscle on the thumb side that connects the upper and the lower arm called the brachioradialis. That's untwisting. That's what you're feeling. All right? And again, this is rolling back. You're feeling that untwisting from this being so tight here. Now, if this is easy, or when this gets easy, again, we're going to do progression, you can do some back shoulder rolls. Realize these arm circles have nothing to do with the arms doing the work. What's doing the work, watch my upper torso. The muscles that are doing the work is in the upper mid-back. Arms are straight. palms are up or as best you can. The more you work that back side, the easier it's going to be for those shoulders to open and roll back and roll back. And guys, again, this can be exhausting. That's fine. Again, this is functional stuff. It all matters. And roll back and start working on, let's try 10 at a time. If that's hard, we'll just work up to 12, we'll work up to 15, we'll work up to 20, and don't go fast. Pay attention so that you know those muscles in the upper mid-back are doing their job. We're gonna do 5 more. 5, opening up the shoulder and the chest. The head is up, not forward. And 4, and 3, and 2, and 1. Now, after you do all those exercises, what I want you to do is I want you to stand up, hopefully without using your hands. Load into your heels. Your feet do not belong here. Your momentum is going forward. The worst thing you can do is put your feet behind you. Put your feet so that your heels are under your knees, not behind them. You're going to load into your heels. This pelvic tilt should help drive you upwards. If you need to do a few of these for momentum, that's perfectly fine. Load into your heels, stand up, get your bearings first. Don't start walking right away. What's different? Walk around a little bit. What do I notice? Stop. Is my weight distribution different? Is it more even? Do I feel like my weight's more on my heels? You guys, this stuff matters. This stuff all adds up. 100% of the time, everybody says, I feel more open, I feel more upright, my weight distribution is different, and this is where we want to go, because this is what helps you function better just in on all of your activities of daily life. So keep up the good work, come back soon, and we'll work some more.